So we're going to give you a list in number 8 of elements, and we want you to pick out the non-metal. So this is a periodic chart question. So you've got, so up here on your screen, you've got this question, and then you've got your book over to the side. Potassium, neon, magnesium, and lithium. Okay, so now here I'm going to stop for a second. So potassium is K. It's right here. It's a metal. And lithium is a metal. Magnesium is a metal. And finally, their last choice was, I'm going to have to take us back because I don't remember. The last choice was, oh, neon. So let's flip back to it again. The last choice is neon, and neon's right here. And neon is the second one. Sorry to squint. Neon is, I'm getting a little closer to me. Neon is element 10, and it's a non-metal. So let's go over again what happened. I got a list of 4 elements, and I was asked to pick out the one that was a non-metal. So I had to go to this chart, and I had to take the first element they gave me and said, nope, that's a metal. Nope, that's a metal. Nope, that's a metal. Yep, that's a non-metal. All right, so the next question is, which of the following elements is the most metallic located on the periodic table? Well, before we even go look at krypton, potassium, iron, and copper, we need to know what most metallic means. And most metallic means farthest left on the periodic chart. So we're going to go back and look at krypton, potassium, iron, and copper. So here we go at our chart, and krypton is way over here. Krypton is one of the noble gases. And remember, we're looking for the element that's the farthest to the left of the chart. And most metallic, farthest to the left. So things come across, properties start to change a little bit at a time. And we know that iron, Fe, is right here. We know that copper is here. So right now, iron is the most metallic. It's more metallic than copper, and it's more metallic than krypton. But all the way over here, element K is potassium. So, man, you got to look. You got to stare. You got to find those elements. You know, you can't guess. Guessing won't work. So now, in number 10, which of these elements has physical and chemical properties most similar to nickel? Okay, so located on your periodic table. So here's the deal. We know that elements that are in the same column, the same group, the same family, has the same number of valence electrons, are going to have similar properties. So we're going to go back here in a second, and we're going to look at nickel. And we're going to figure out whether or not cobalt, copper, palladium, or silver is underneath or above nickel. All right, so nickel is right here in this group, group number 10, okay? And under it is palladium. That was one of the elements back from the list. Copper and silver are right here. You know, they're not unlike nickel, but they're not as much like nickel as palladium is. Remember, this same group or family, same number of valence electrons. Now, which element is in period 4 in group 2? This isn't something you're going to memorize, and this isn't something that's going to be that you can say, okay, I'm going to know what's in period 4 group 2 because it's going to be on the next assessment. No, it's not. It's going to be, you know, group 3, you know, period 2. But let's go find group 4, period 4, I'm sorry, and group 2. Period 4 and group 2. All right, period 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Period 4 in group 2. Boom, right here. All right. We have to peek at it. It's calcium. And sure enough, calcium is the element that's in the 4th period down and the 2nd group over. Look at question 12. How many electron shells would an atom of sulfur have? All right, so you can't memorize that. You've got to be able to do it. So you've got to find sulfur, and you have to be able to count down from the top to know what period it's in, and that's how many shells it has. Let's go find sulfur. All right, well, sulfur is found right here underneath oxygen. Sulfur is in the 1, 2, 3 periods. It's right here. How many orbits or shells does it have? 3. Yep, and sure enough, it has 3. Let's go to question 13. Which of these elements would most likely have a similar arrangement of valence electrons? So remember, valence electrons are in columns and chemical properties. So if it has the same number of valence electrons, it has pretty similar chemical properties. All right. So what we have to, now we're looking at pairs. So you're going to look at the pair of boron and aluminum. And if those two atoms are in the same column, they're a match. But if they're not, we're going to look for helium and fluorine. And if not, we're going to look at carbon and nitrogen. If they're in the same column, they have the same number of valence electrons, and they have the same chemical and physical properties. All right, so let's go look at boron and aluminum. All right, the first pair, because we have 4 pairs we need to check out. Boron and aluminum are right here. Wow, winner, winner, chicken dinner. These are that's the pair right there. So we don't have to go any farther. They have the same number of valence electrons, the same number, the similar chemical and physical properties. You know, and here's one you got to memorize. You got to have written down. You just have to know. Which of the following is a common characteristic of nonmetals? Well, nonmetals are not shiny. Metals are shiny. Good conductivity of heat and electricity. Nope. Nope. Those are metals. So now here's the deal. On the next assessment, it could be the other way around. Dull and brittle. Those are nonmetals. Okay? And solid at room temperature. There are a lot of substances that are solid at room temperature. Mostly metals. But we know for sure that nonmetals are dull and brittle. Here's another one that you just have to have written down. You just need to know. All elements found on the left-hand side of the periodic table of elements have what properties that are common? Well, first off, everything on the left-hand side of the periodic table you need to know are metals. And you need to know, as you go through the list here, that metals conduct heat and electricity. Now, remember, all this could get switched around. So you need to know that nonmetals are dull and brittle. You have to have that written down. You need to remember and know and have it written down that metals conduct heat and electricity. All right, now question 16. Element X. So let me find element X. Here's element X. On the diagram would have the same number of valence electrons as which numbered element. I don't even have to go to the periodic chart. This isn't about that. This is just about understanding the organization of the chart. And everything in this column have the same number of valence electrons. So the best answer to number 16 is the number 2 right there. Didn't even have to go to the periodic chart. All right, again, don't have to go to the periodic chart. Which numbered element would have the same number of electron shells as element X? So here's element X, okay? 1 orbit, one shell, 2 shells, 3 shells, 4 shells. Which one has the same as X? 3 does. X is going to have 3 orbits or shells. Element 3 is going to have 3 orbits or shells. Best answer is 3. All right, now number 18, which of the following elements would be classified as a metalloid? So they give us 4 choices, and we're going to have to go back to our chart. Carbon, helium, silicon, and hydrogen. Nobody memorizes the metalloids. You don't have to memorize. You just have to know how the chart works. Carbon, helium, silicon, hydrogen. So now again, on the next test, it's not going to be carbon, silicon, helium, whatever that third one was, fourth one was. It's going to be what sits on this chart. All of, or this line. This line shows us where the metalloids are. Okay? So looking at our choices, silicon was one of our choices. That's going to be the answer. On the next assessment, it could be arsenic. Okay? Antimony, it could be boron. What sits on this staircase? These are metalloids. Question 19. Yeah, you need to memorize where the halogen family is found. It's found all the way over to the right, one group inside of the noble gases. But so you know where they are. So the next thing you need to do is just be able to pick out the elements. So is boron, neon, fluorine, or oxygen, any one of those halogen are in the halogen family. And if you're still with me with your periodic chart, you know that the halogens all sit right here. Okay? And I believe fluorine was one of our choices here. Okay? It's any of these elements in here that are part of the halogen family. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. Can't read it from here. And again, I don't memorize that every one of the halogens. I memorize that the halogens are in the second column to the right-hand side. This is where the halogens are. All right, and the last question is, how many valence electrons would chlorine have? Okay, so find them on the periodic table. All right. We know that boron has 3 and carbon has 4 and nitrogen has 5 and oxygen has 6 and fluorine has 7. And chlorine sits right underneath fluorine. Chlorine has 7 valence electrons, which makes it really reactive. It's just trying to get to 8.